on their own soil. "20 years before, President Reagan had been confronted by the first suicide bombers. They had been unleashed by President Assad of Syria to force America out of the Middle East. But rather than confront the complexity of Syria and Israel and the Palestinian problem, America had retreated and left Syria and suicide bombing to fester and mutate. They had gone instead for Colonel Gaddafi and turned him into an evil global terrorist. But in the process, this changed the way people saw and understood terrorism. Instead of a violence born out of political struggles for power, it became replaced by a much simpler image of an evil tyrant at the head of a rogue state, who became more like an arch criminal who wanted to terrorize the world. All the politics and power dropped away. The problem was just them and their evil personalities. And after 9/11, this led to a new and equally simple idea: that if only you could remove these tyrannical figures, then the grateful people of their country would transform naturally into a democracy, because they would be free of the evil.
We owe it to the future of civilization not to allow the world's worst leaders to develop and deploy and therefore blackmail freed-loving countries with the world's worst weapons.
We know they've already got chemical and biological weapons there. We know that they're certainly doing their best to acquire nuclear weapons technology. If we allow them to do that and do nothing about it, then I think later generations will consider us deeply irresponsible.
Both Tony Blair and George Bush became possessed by the idea of ridding the world of Saddam Hussein. So possessed that they believed any story that proved his evil intentions. And the line between reality and fiction became ever more blurred. In September 2002, the head of MI6 rushed to Downing Street to tell Blair excitedly that they had finally found the source that confirmed everything. The source, he said, had direct access to Saddam Hussein's chemical weapons program, which was making vast quantities of VX and sarin nerve agents. The nerve agents were being loaded into linked hollow glass spheres. But then someone in MI6 noticed that the detail the source was describing was identical to scenes in the 1996 movie The Rock, starring Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage.
Really elegant string of pearls configuration. Unfortunately, incredibly unstable.
Well, what exactly does this stuff do?
If the rocket renders it aerosol, it can take out the entire city of people.
How?
It's a cholinesterase inhibitor. Stops the brain from sending nerve messages down the spinal cord.
A later report into the Iraq War pointed out glass containers were not typically used in chemical munitions.
Seizes your nervous system. Do not move that!
And the informant had obviously seen a popular movie known as The Rock that had inaccurately depicted nerve agents being carried in glass beads or spheres.
After your skin melts off.
Oh my God.
That there is a threat from Saddam Hussein and the weapons of mass destruction that he has acquired is not in doubt at all.